What's up, dedicated Dragon Ball denizens? I'm Ryan, and we're here for another episode of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. Today, I've got something different for you because it's finally time for me to weigh in on all of this stuff. As a person who's been very, very anti ban since I came into the game, not wanting to ban cards like Pilaf, Babidi, and androids, my stance has changed. And I agree, Bandai has messed up. And it's time for them to do something about this and get some of these cards errata, banned, whatever we got to do, because the game is not in a good spot right now. I agree. It's not as fun as it should be. People are losing interest. So I'm going to talk about how they messed up, how they can fix it, and avoid this problem in the future. And with that, I've got some visuals to go along with my argument because everybody loves visuals. And of course, these are the main culprits on screen. The 3-cost Babidi, which also in proxy is the Boo card, the 3-cost Boo, actually multiples of the evil Boos, Pilaf, and androids, right? So how did they mess up with these cards? They really messed up, but we can fix this and fix it long term, okay? So let's talk about why I used to be anti-ban first, right? Especially moving in, I really didn't think that there was even a question of ban until we got into the last set, where things really got to be just Evil Boo and Satan City decks. So what I thought is like, okay, this is just kind of a 1 to 2 set anomaly. We're going to get it fixed based on what I had seen, especially with this Broly in our newest set, FBO6. I thought we were just going to move more towards an aggro where we could at least match Boo. And then in terms of Satan City, and even before that, the Zamasus that were more control-y decks, I thought we would probably just be moving more into that, right? We had the Broly, which is very aggro, and also the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Daima deck, right? Who's up here. However, that didn't happen. I actually was so excited for this Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. I thought he was going to be the answer, along with Broly, to where we could at least be competitive against these evil Boo decks, Satan City, and things of that nature. That didn't happen. Okay, that just did not happen. I really went hard. I worked for the first few weeks of the game trying to get my Vegeta mini deck to work, and it's competitive against most decks, but I'm still just getting destroyed against Boos. I'm still not having a good chance against Satan City. And I'm not the only one. I'm all over the place. People are losing interest and they're getting mad. If you go into what I call the big Discord, the big Fusion World Discord, the conversations are always coming back to banning cards. They're coming back to people losing interest in the game, getting tired of playing against only evil Boos and playing against Satan City decks. It's just not as fun right now to go against them. It doesn't really let us play the game how we want to play the game. It doesn't let us play any of these new leaders. Like, it's ridiculous to me that we came out with a new set and none of the leaders are competitive, like, at all. It's just insane. So what are we going to do about this? You know, what are we going to do? Because when now, as we're seeing reveals, if you go on to Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, which is the only social media I'm on, the main comment you see every day, we're getting reveals, and it's just full of comments. Ban list when ban list, what's going on here? So what are we going to do about this? And obviously, what are we? We is Bandai. But here I've got a solution, which is most people's solution is errata to 1. Right? As I mentioned, the issue resolves around those main cards. There's really 3 culprits. It's not necessarily leaders alone, but it's cards that just work on these leaders' abilities that just make it really hard to defend against. Like Babidi into Boo. Like that Boo itself, the 3-cost Boo, that is a 30k attacker, isn't necessarily that crazy to defend against. It's the fact that they're playing him and hand ripping you. It just doesn't allow you to play the game. This Babidi, right? So here he is. So here's a solution to that, and he looks a little bit weird. This is how he really looks, right? This is how he is. So if your leader has Majin Buu, play up to 1 card with three or less card with Majin and special traits from your hand. And then when he's KO'd, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, they discard a card. So if you play this guy into Evil Buu, which the Evil Buu 3 cost, there's 2 different ones. There's a 30k that lets you KO a card to unrest himself. So now he's coming in, attacking once for 30k, KOing this Babidi hand ripping you for another card and then attacking for 30k again is just crazy. I mean, don't even get me started on when we're doing this on a double striker move, right? And this can happen multiple times. And because we could play 4 copies of the Babidi in the deck, your opponent is almost always going to have this by turn 3, probably again turn 4, maybe even again turn 5, because they've been drawing as well as this has been happening. And maybe even they didn't play the other Boo, they played the one that helps them draw. Like, it's crazy. It doesn't let you play. So here's back to this. What the heck is this card? This is my abomination of a card for Pokemon and a Dragon Ball card. But one thing I want you to pay attention to on here is this has this specification of being an ace spec. This comes from Pokemon, and you can read this here. You can't have more than 1 ace spec card in your deck. So a lot of people are saying errata the Babidi to 1, errata the Pilaf to 1, errata the androids to 1. This should have been done in the first place. Bandai should have known that these cards were ridiculously strong, and they should have come out with a different type of card that looks, I mean, I think this is a pretty good job on it. I did a good job photoshopping this bad boy, except maybe the numbers. They should know, and they should have come out with this proactively to get these cards as some type of ace spec or even radiance, which I know Pokemon is Pokemon's the only other game I play, and they have these types of cards in their ace specs. They've had radiance, so that's one solution. They should have done this in the first place, and they can fix this by doing something like that moving forward. Let's think about what this would do for the game. Let's move on to Pilaf a little bit. Let's say that you have your Pilaf that's limited to 1. One of the biggest issues with Pilaf is that he can pick himself up from the drop. This was set 1. The game was really new. They didn't think about things like this would be so crazy. You won't have to worry about him picking himself up. This overall, if we get errating to 1, or really just a new type of card where you only can play 1 of in deck, it's going to result in more balance to the game. We're not going to have like multi-plays with this overpowered cards. We're not always going to see them, which is also going to result in more variance game to game, and not having these cards take over the game. And then predictability a little bit more on your opponent's side, knowing that once you see that card, that's it. You're not going to see it again. Now, as I mentioned, how are we going to avoid this in the future? Because Bandai really needs to take a look at the cards that they're making and know that sometimes cards are going to be overpowered. And they may not want to make these certain SR cards because maybe that card as a 1 card isn't necessarily super powerful. But when we're looking at it and thinking about, okay, what if we had 4 of these in the deck, and let's say that our opponent played that card 4 times in a row, they need to really think about these things and limit them to 1. This is a real ace spec from Pokemon. Unfair Stamp. You can use this card only if any of your Pokemon were knocked out last turn, which already gives it a limit. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, then you draw 5, your opponent draws 2. Now that's a really powerful thing to do in Pokemon, where hand drawing cards is a lot easier to do, and it helps you pull things. I mean, imagine this in Dragon Ball would be really crazy. Imagine your opponent using it multiple times. That's a lot. So this is an ace spec. You can only use this card once. It's an item card. In Pokemon, you can use as many item cards as you want in 1 turn. There's also some limitations there. In Pokemon, there are supporter cards that are much stronger than item cards, but you can use 1 per turn, right? So we can think about things like that and incorporate more than just battle and extra into Dragon Ball, and incorporating things like ace specs or radiance in Pokemon. Right, now here's another one. Now this one's the Radiant Pokemon I was talking about. Radiant Greninja. Right, this card is ridiculously strong. I mean, on the surface it doesn't look like it, but it is really strong. It's a basic Pokemon. It has 130 HP, so yeah, as a basic, that's pretty good. That's a good amount of HP for those of you that know Pokemon. And its ability concealed cards. You must discard an energy card from your hand. Once during your turn, you can draw 2 cards. So that on its own is a lot. Discard 1, draw 2. So put 1 in drop, and drawing 2 is pretty good. But to be able to use this, imagine if you had 4 of these. That would be a lot. And then it has its attack is Moonlight Shuriken. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. It needs 3 energy. This attack does 90 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. That could just take out most basics. So that is a really strong card. But you only get 1 Radiant Greninja, and that really helped at least balance things a bit more. I mean, this card's still one of the strongest cards I've ever seen in Pokemon since I've played. Almost every deck was playing one throughout its time in Pokemon. But guess what? He's banned now in many ways, and he's banned now because of what I want to talk about next: rotation. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear this. Rotation. They do not. Dragon Ball fans, from what I've seen, are overwhelmingly against rotation. And as a Pokemon player, I like rotation. I really like rotation because it can help us balance power in the game, in Pokemon specifically. You know, now that Radiant Greninja is rotated out. He just rotated out. He's gone forever, unless you're playing an expanded or different format. We don't have to worry about seeing him anymore, and it means that we can have some variance in the game now. Remember, if we're playing meta, you're going to have to play. That Radiant Greninja is strong. He was seen in almost every single deck, so that means that every deck you make almost is going to have that card, and that takes up a spot in the deck. You know, you just have to play it. Now, think about androids. A rotation would help androids. It would prevent them from hogging the fame in the game, which is what's happening in green, right? Android's ability to ramp with this specific card has caused an identity crisis in green. Ever since set 4, when they printed the green Vegeta, they've had an identity crisis. They're trying to deal with the fact that this android card is just too good. It's too good of a leader when we're thinking about the way that the Bandai initially wanted to make green. They wanted it to be a ramp color. We saw them try to do this with the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. It, to an extent, with Cell, and then they tried to add healing. And then they said, nobody's doing this better than set 1 androids. Nobody's going to, because we've got this card. Not to mention that they're a 30k attacker and they only need 6 energy. That sounds like a lot. That's nothing, right? So their identity is just too good, right? Place 2 cards from your energy in your drop with this 4 cost here. And if your leader is Android 17, add up to 3 cards with Android and their special traits from your drop to your energy. That is just really good. And when we're seeing multiples of these played in one turn, and the ability to play multiple when we're only at 5 or 6 energy is just crazy. They just ramp too well, right? Think about Kefla. Kefla is the original Radiant in there. So if we had rotation, now we can have Kefla in there. Eventually, she'd rotate out. Eventually, the 4 cost androids would rotate out. Even if we had android a bit later on in the set, they'd rotate out. So we'd start having things rotate out for a for this is a pretty cool looking Radiant card too, right? If it was a Radiant. So rotation would have us let these cards go so that we don't have to put space in our deck. There's new metas, and maybe colors would get better and worse as things go. Maybe specific leaders would get better and worse, and we would see ups and downs, but that is what's great about rotation, and I think, personally, we should have it. They've kind of started. I mean, we've got FBO 2, they could say FBO 1, anything FBO 1 and lower is rotated out. It wouldn't be that hard to do, okay? It may not sound fun, but it would just force out a leader like Android 17 and 18, who's just too perfect for this format. Now, what do you all think? Do you think that we should do this? Do you think rotation should be a thing now? I think rotation should be a thing. I think that Bandai really needs to, at least for now, errata these cards down to 1. And they should probably reprint them as sets go forward, and maybe keep their same number if we do think about rotation, and call them something else. I know Radiant or A-Spec as Pokemon. What could you call them in Dragon Ball? I don't know. Think of some Dragon Ball cool name that would work. You know, I can't even think of it right now. But think about something like that, okay? And errata these to 1 so that we can get down and we can play the game. We can get some other leaders out there in the meta. We could stop seeing regionals that are either Evil Boo or Satan City, because that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing very few and far between of extremely skilled players that may be able to throw in a Jiren or something like that. We're really seeing it to where the last 3 sets that have come out, the first couple weeks, we see some things with the new leaders. We may see some like Eggman tournaments where we can get a new leader win that tournament because they haven't learned, the opponents haven't really learned how to deal with them yet. And then right after that, we're a couple months in, or we're a month in really, and now we're right back to where we were, Evil Boo, Satan City. It's just annoying and it sucks. And even I'm starting to see my enjoyment go, where I really wanted to play a deck and it's just not working out because I'm multiple decks too. It's just not working out. So we need to do something about it. And maybe a Radiant Pilaf would be cool. He's not real right now, so he can't hurt you, but maybe he can at some point, right? Wait. Is Radiant Pilaf right behind me right now? Oh boy, it's Radiant Pilaf. He's real. There's Radiant Pilaf. There's what he might look like if we ever had him in there. My abomination of a card with Pilaf in there. But anyway, okay. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can become part of the Hawks Nest, a fearless flock of fabulous folks who love to do what we love, okay? I love playing Dragon Ball. I want to play this game. I don't want people to run away. And that's what happened when I started going to locals. The couple people that were left said that they were the last ones left because what happened was when we had the Top Coup, before they banned and errata those cards from Top Coup, that killed the game almost. And do we want to let that happen? This game is fun. It has a lot of potential. I think we could bring people in, but if you want to start bringing people in and they can only play 2 decks, then nobody's going to want to do that. And then if you have a community that's disgruntled because nothing's happening, then they're going to start leaving and we're going to see this game shrink. I felt like last set was a step in the right direction in terms of like community and at least people kind of coming back to the game. But now we're seeing the reverse happen where people are just over it. They're overseeing these same decks that are multiple sets in, now just continue to dominate with cards that are getting older, and we're only adding a couple cards to our deck to just make the rich richer each set. So hopefully we can do something about it. If you're not ready to fly it though, that's all right. Just hit that like button. You can have us, the Hawk's Nest, show up in an algorithm near you in the near future. But until then, we'll see you next time.